the post-production part is the last chapter, basically the last stage in the huge kind of like life of a project, basically. So this is where all the filming, after the filming takes place, all the media, basically, so the sound and the picture, all come to us, and we basically then organise that enough for the editors who work in basically a suite like this, who then cut the programme together, assemble that, and then once that's done, then it's part of my job and part of the edit assistant's job as well, then to send that off up to another area, which is where the dubbers, the person who deals with the sound, and the graders, which is the person that does with the picture, and they finesse that, they kind of fine tune it, and then marry it together, bring it together, and then that programme is pretty much ready to be transmitted into people's living rooms when they watch River City.
Magic. That's wonderful. And can you tell me a wee bit about the entry level role within that department?
So we've got, there's a couple of roles. So there's myself at the top. I don't want to actually do a hierarchy, but there's myself, then there's an edit assistant, which I'll go into later. Then there is a post-production secretary, and then below that there's an evening ingest. So basically what happens is that at the end of the shoot, basically, and also at lunchtime, what they call the camera department and the sound department break for lunch and break for the end of the day, and then that means the media, so basically what they're recording on, which is usually kind of hard drives, then gets delivered to us, and then we take that information in. Now in the evening, we have people who are kind of evening ingest sessions, so they come in the evening and they basically take that media and they put it into storage. And then once it's in storage, they can then basically break each of those individual takes down, record it, and then basically tag it. And then they basically then prepare that ready for the editor to use the following morning. So that is the entry level is what's called an ingest assistant. So it's like an edit assistant, but they work in kind of sort of certain hours, usually in the evening, which is kind of like outside what would normal working hours be.
Great. And is there any sort of skills or qualifications that are needed for an ingest assistant? Or
yeah, I mean, obviously proficient within using computers for a start. So just that basic kind of idea, or probably a really good a basic knowledge of editing software. So something, I mean, the standard obviously in the industry is Avid and Final Cut Pro. But with the rise of technology being available, you know, and kind of easier and cheaper packages, then people can get access to these and work in these packages through their home computers and even through their phones, actually, and tablets now, which is phenomenal. And so actually having a basic understanding of that really helps. But again, there's training. We initiate training with them when they basically when they join, or if we're looking to employ somebody, and we go through a training plan with them as well. But having a knowledge of a kind of basic editing software would be really, really beneficial.
Yeah, and then you sort of get on the job training.
Yeah, and this has always been we always feel that in order to try and support people, we try and give them as much training when we're on the job as possible, because obviously we know people aren't going to come into this job knowing absolutely everything, and I think it's important that you know they're going to get support and the proper training here as well, like everybody else who comes through.
Because everything's sort of different in the editing styles. Like, do you find that drama is maybe slightly different how you cut compared to commercials? Like Linda was mentioning earlier, there's sort of different freelance options there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when we moved through, my post-production is an office, and then in here is where the editors work, usually by themselves. And when they're in here, this is it's a very kind of quick turnaround for the editors, but it's a really fascinating. It's quite a different discipline from cutting this as it is to cutting something like a situation comedy or like a reality doc or something else.
So what would you expect coming into the post-production department, sort of to to be set up with? What's it like to sort of work in post-production?
It's a fascinating, it's a really, really fascinating part of the industry. And again, it's maybe a bit of the industry that people don't know a great deal about, because it's behind the scenes, and what we do obviously isn't, you wouldn't have thought is reflected in the last bit. Actually, it's integral, just like sound and camera and makeup. We all play a really integral part in it. And with post-production, it's marrying the creativity and kind of technical know-how from the edit suite, but it's also you're kind of slaving away to the schedule, which is you need to deliver, and so you have to be very punctual. You have to know in terms of problem solving if issues arise. So you have to be kind of skilled in various disciplines. But again, this is something I remember learning on the job and flying by the seat of my pants sometimes. But I had amazing amount of support in places like River City, who are filled with lots of professionals and people with experience. It was an absolute joy to be part of.
That's great to hear. And what do you look out for new entrants and people that are wanting to sort of move into this department? What's sort of the skills that you're looking for when you're trying to hire someone, or just them as an individual? What do you look for?
I think actually, as I said before, a basic level of kind of understanding about editing, because whether it's in the edit suite or in the post-production room, we generally, the kind of one thing that we work a lot with is about editing software, and that's whether that is doing whether it's just delivering material to the editors, or whether it's cutting what's called the pre-caps and recaps, which is like what happened before an episode and what's coming next, the bookend each Riverside episode. We're always using that software, so that's one part. The other part is, and I'll echo what John Gardner had said earlier, which was a team player, someone who actually can work well within a team, because you pull upon everybody's experience, and quite often you'll be asked to step up and do things maybe outside your comfort zone, but that will give you the experience to maybe move on to the next stage. And the last thing, which is a very, very basic thing, but I would adhere to, is punctuality. I think I can't stress that enough. I think someone who's punctual and is reliable as well, so they can come in and they'll come in on time, and that's sometimes worth in fact, not sometimes, it's always worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, definitely. And just finally, can you give any sort of advice? I mean, you've touched upon it just there, but any advice for people starting out? Sort of, how did you get into this department?
I think, do you know what, it's a thing where there's so many avenues in which you can get in, and I think that's that can be the difficulty, but it can also be a plus point as well, is that there's not one set way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I would say is apply, never get worried about rejection, always try and get your foot in the door. And the other thing is meeting people, actually, is coming in and actually just asking. We had quite a few people who would just say, listen, can I come in and sit in or watch somebody, and actually just putting a face to a name, and it's not just a CV, or it's really important. And then once you're in there, you get a better idea of exactly maybe the department you want to be in, or you get an opportunity that something's fallen through and you could actually take over. Also, never stop editing. From a post-production point of view, you can always edit, and the more you edit and the more you have a bigger backlog and a bigger archive of stuff, then it's more and more of a calling card when it comes to you looking for a position.